So just a bit of confession, right? I want to confess to you this. I'm actually not a very disciplined, I don't live a very disciplined life. I'm not a very disciplined person, and I'm not a fan of being disciplined, or I don't think it's a good thing to cultivate discipline in your life. Now, I know that might sound crazy. I'm a life coach. I help people figure out what they want in life and help them to move into that, to create that, to achieve that. And if you have a desire for something, you absolutely can. Not only is it possible, it's actually your birthright. I always say that. Whatever you have a desire for, it's your birthright. But with that said, a lot of people think they need discipline to make something happen or to accomplish something. And I think I heard Mike Tyson one time say that discipline is the ability to do what you don't want to do, right? So you can be consistent doing what you don't want to do, so that you can achieve a goal or make it to some level, okay? And I get that, and I understand that. And is there any truth to that? Can that be helpful in some ways? It can, yeah, and it does work for a lot of people. But I always say it works until it doesn't. And it ultimately will work against you, leading you away from the very thing you want. This has been my experience, and I've seen this happen in so many people's lives, right? People get burned out eventually because discipline is not sustainable. Now, I know that might sound crazy. I actually am not a fan of doing what you don't want to do. I'm a fan of doing what you do want to do. Now, I know the pushback, right? I've had a lot of people say, well, Jamal, if I just do what I want to do, I won't do anything that's actually going to accomplish my goals, because half the time I don't want to do the consistent kind of work that it takes for success to be achieved. And so let me just say this. In order for you to be successful at anything in your life, anything, it does require consistency. That's a given. In my work with people as a life coach, we help people get on a plan where they're working through on a daily basis, very minimally in the beginning, to get a track record of consistency. And why that's so important is because if you can't be consistent in the small things, which tend to be the most important, small things meaning things that you can actually do very easily, if you're not consistent in the small things, you'll never be consistent in the bigger things, right? In the more challenging things. That's just a given. And I think you already know this. Most people know this. But nevertheless, that's why we start very simply, because we need to establish a track record of consistency. For success to happen, it requires consistency, not intensity. A lot of people think it requires intensity. No, it just requires consistency. Now, the reason so many people rely on discipline or want to cultivate discipline to be consistent with something is because they need to push through something. Discipline is a form of resistance because you're doing something you don't want to do, right? And that requires force to make something happen because you're doing something that you don't want to do. Have you ever noticed, though, it's very easy to do what you want to do? It is. It's very easy to do what you want to do. It's very difficult to do what you don't want to do. So my advice is this. You don't need discipline to be consistent. You need desire. Now, let me say that again. You don't need discipline to be consistent. You need desire. That's a fact. Just register that away. Now, I'll give you an example of how this plays out in my life. Because a lot of people say, well, again, if I don't want to do something, then I'm not going to do it and I'm not going to be consistent or successful. Okay, I hear you. Let me give you an example of how this can work. In my own personal life, right, I have a practice that I do every day, right? It's a daily practice. I've committed to doing it for my own inner well-being. It's a yoga, it's considered a yogic energetic practice. It involves some postures and physical, forms, stretches and things. It also involves breath work, right? Deep breath work. It also involves a meditative act. So all said and done, this entire process, this process that I do, it takes about 40 minutes in one sitting. If you're going to sit down and do it, and you have to do it all in one sitting, it's 40 minutes. It takes 40 minutes. And so I do this every day, and a lot of people say, oh yeah, you must be really disciplined. Like, no, I'm not actually disciplined. And I'll just be very frank with you, right? I'll be really honest with you. Most times I don't want to do this. I just simply do not want to do my 40-minute practice because I have this thought or this feeling of like, man, there's so much I need to do. I don't really have time to do it. I don't really want to do it. I kind of just want to do other things, but I still do it. Now, do I use discipline to do it? No, I don't. And if I feel like there's some resistance and I don't want to do this practice, what do? Well, I don't use discipline because discipline is resistance. It's pushing through something. I don't want to resist the resistance. Again, resisting resistance is still resistance. And in the coaching world, we say this a lot, and there's a lot of truth to it. What you resist will persist. What you resist will persist. We don't want to resist anything. So what do? When I sit down to do my practice, this 40-minute yogic practice that involves all these different pieces, and I don't want to do it, how do I still do it? How do I stay consistent in doing it? And I'm going to tell you how I do it. If I notice resistance and I don't want to do it, I don't push through and just do it anyway. Because that's what discipline would do. Just push through and do it anyway. No, I don't do that. But I don't ignore it either. I don't react to it by going away from it and not dealing with it. I don't just numb myself or go scroll or go eat or watch TV. I don't do that either. I actually accept the fact that there's resistance. And I'll actually sit on the floor and not do my practice, my 40-minute practice. I'll just sit on the floor and I'll sit with this feeling of discomfort, this feeling of resistance. And I'll actually just I have this whole little process where I just ask myself, like, why don't you want to do this, Jamal? I already know the answers. Got so much to do. I kind of want to drink coffee or, because you have to be on an empty stomach and you don't drink coffee while you're doing this practice. That's a whole set of reasons for that. So I want to get to coffee. I want to maybe get something to eat, or I want to whatever, get busy doing productive work, right? What I consider productive work. And I feel like I'm running out of time. So I sit and I go, okay, I accept that. Is it true that I don't have enough time? And then I see through that, right? That's a mental construct of poverty. That's a poverty mindset. Not enough. Running out of time. All we have is time. Right? We have time to do whatever we want to do. And because all we have is this moment. And this moment, if you look at this moment, it's eternal, right? It never ends. This moment doesn't end. It just continues. All I have is time. So I'll sit with that and I'll feel it. I'll actually feel like it's okay to feel like I'm running out of time. It's okay to actually feel that I'm missing out on my morning coffee, or I'm missing out on answering some emails, or whatever it is. And I'll just sit with that, feel it, I locate it in the body, and I sit with it. And you know what happens? What's amazing? Whatever you allow in your life, good news is it will dissipate. It'll move. Whatever feeling, if it's anxiety, if it's fear, if it's hurt, if it's sadness, if you allow it consciously, learn to sit with it, be with it, it will leave. It won't stay with you. And when that energy dissipates, what I notice is there's a lightness, and now I'm able to do my practice. That 40-minute practice, I just do it. And that 40 minutes goes by, because 40 minutes are going to go by anyway, no matter what you do. 40 minutes is going to be 40 minutes. It's going to go by anyway. So when it dissipates, then I'm able to do my practice. It's no discipline required. It's just accepting the resistance. And I come back to this whole thing of desire. I don't have to do my 40-minute practice every day. I don't have to do it. So why do I do it? Because I want to do it. Ultimately, when I get past the resistance, I actually want to do it. I want to do it. I really do. Because of the benefits, right? This practice, there is so much amazing energy that rises up my system. I feel healthier. My energy increases. I need less sleep at night. I don't have to eat as much because I feel energized. I'm able to be more present. I'm able to show up for my clients, my coaching clients, so much better when I do this practice because I'm dialed in. I'm all in, right? Yeah, totally. I'm able to be a better husband. I'm able to be a better friend. I'm able to process my own emotions, my own stuff that I'm processing and working through in my own life. I'm able to deal with that, right? When I'm showing up for myself, doing this practice. But again, I don't use discipline to do it. I choose to do it because of the desire that I have for it. But I can't access that desire unless I accept the resistance to doing it, because it breaks a pattern, right? A pattern of self-abandonment, self-neglect, and the feeling of not enough time. So I have to accept all that, sit with it, process it, feel it, so it can pass through me. This is not just true in this, I'm just using this as an example. This is true in all of life. It's what you allow consciously that you can move through. What you allow consciously, you can move through. But you have to do it consciously, and you have to do it with an openness and non-resistive state. You have to let yourself feel. What you feel, you heal. What you allow, you pass through. What you resist keeps you blocked, keeps you stuck, and it will persist. Okay? Just a rule of life. I wanted to share that with you today. Also, if you watched this far, we're connecting, you and I. Thank you. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for tuning in, for being here, for coming to this channel, for receiving this. My whole goal of having this channel is actually to be of service to you, to give you tools, perspectives, paradigm shifts that are going to serve you in life. That's why I do my work in the world. That's why I'm a life coach. That's why I have this channel. That's why you're here. I also have something called a podcast. It's called my podcast name is called The Lovecast with Jamal. Yes, it's called The Lovecast with Jamal. And I'm super, super, super proud of that podcast. Now, this podcast, I'm taking a little bit of a break from it. It's been going for many years, and I've actually just had one continuous season, and I've taken a break for the last few weeks because the podcast is getting a makeover. It's being upgraded. In just a few weeks, we're going to launch a new season. This will be season 2 of the podcast, and it's going to, it's very basic. The old podcast is just bare bones. We have some good conversations on there, and I share some things on there, but it wasn't very professionally done. And now in this new season, the podcast is going through an upgrade, and I'm really excited, really happy to tell you that it's gonna look and sound much better. Just some upgrades, and we have some fantastic guests for this next season of episodes that I've been able to have amazing conversations that are going to change your life. Basically, these conversations are going to change your life. If you are not maybe you already know about my podcast called The Lovecast with Jamal. If you do not know about my podcast, can I just let you know that you have the ability to subscribe, and I would encourage you to subscribe to the podcast. Go to iTunes, look up The Lovecast with Jamal. The Lovecast with Jamal. Subscribe to it so you get on this. So you get on the podcast, so you get on the episodes, you get up to date when new episodes come. So let me encourage you to subscribe. If you listen to podcasts on Spotify, go to Spotify and look up The Lovecast with Jamal. I'm on Spotify. You can sign up. You can subscribe to the podcast. I would encourage you to do that. Really helps. If you'd like to, if you're a listener and you like the podcast, please rate and review the podcast. In just a few weeks, new episodes are coming. I don't want you to miss out. Please go to the Lovecast with Jamal, subscribe, get on board with that. And I can't wait to share these new episodes with you. Okay? Thank you so much. Thanks for being here.